Good afternoon. In today's In the Meantime, I wanted to follow up with our note last week about the triangle game. And recently, I've been thinking a lot about how we frame issues, people's reaction to the package, that is, the framing, how issues get resolved or not, and what the end goal of our society might be. Those are heady thoughts, perhaps, but the pandemic has me on a roll thinking about all things ultimate. It seems as if Western society, Europe, the United States, Australia, New Zealand, takes its founding narrative from a surprising place, the Old Testament. I prefer to use the Hebrew Bible instead of the Old Testament. The book is full of stories of the Hebrews, Israelites, Jews, as underdogs facing a more powerful adversary and usually coming out on top. It is a book of battles and wars, winners and losers, all designed to convey the message, quote, our God is more powerful than your gods. And whether that approach for the battle of the gods has been successful or not, I leave up to you. But the methodology of the Hebrew Bible has left the Western world with an indelible stain. That stain is the implicit understanding that the way to get what you want, to prove your point, to change people, or to be successful is to go into battle. If you are religious, you will take with you an understanding that God is on the side of your righteous cause. It may not be armed conflict or violent conflict. It could be a battle of words, or sending in ICE agents, or a corporate takeover, or a political race, whatever you call it. It's a battle with winners, losers, casualties, and victims. And it never ends. Do we have to frame everything in terms of I'm right and you're wrong? It is almost as if we have no other options. Society is locked in conflict at every turn. Neither side is willing to concede. Neither side is willing to understand that the other side may have some valid things to say. Understanding, respect, compromise, graciousness, and conciliation have fled the battlefield these days. This societal or global impasse benefits only a tiny number of people. For the rest of us, the things we allow to divide us will ultimately destroy us. For reasons of space and time here, I have to give you a gloss on other understandings of human relationships with each other and with the natural world, but here are two. Buddhism emphasizes a harmonious, symbiotic relationship between people and the natural world. This leads to a peaceful coexistence with other people who have backgrounds different than oneself in terms of ideology, culture, religion, ethnicity, and so forth. The natural environment is considered to be an even greater set of, quote, others, in that the environment encircles all of humanity and gives us life. One teacher says that the, quote, underlying cause of conflict isn't the enemy or adverse conditions. It is a thorn lodged within your own heart and mind. Buddhists look inward rather than outward. Conflicts are organized not in terms of their outer manifestations, but in an understanding of their inner sources. Conflicts rooted in anger, resentment, hatred, attachment to views, greed, and lust. The antidotes to these involve transforming the inner causes of conflict and replacing them with more positive or healthy mind states. The general approach involves replacing delusion with wisdom and understanding. That's Buddhism. Hinduism. The Hindu way aims at creating congenial conditions for human survival, sustenance of nature, cordial human relationships, and rule of law. It takes a holistic view of life and establishes righteous relations among all the forces of life. The Hindu way of life believes in creating conditions that prevent the rise of any conflict. Unless we think that our religion is unique, separate, autonomous, and better than other religions, consider that through their respective cultures, global religions have been borrowing, adapting, synthesizing, reinterpreting, and changing ever since time began, and I'm including Christianity. The Sumerian Gilgamesh flood story, for example, is found in Genesis, written 1,500 years later. The simple string of prayer beads that Roman Catholics and Episcopalians call a rosary were probably borrowed from Muslim practice in Spain in the 8th century. When Muslims got their idea from the Buddhists in Central Asia, who in turn appropriated the idea from the Brahmins in Hindu India. In Christianity, the idea of saints and festivals of Christmas and Easter were all borrowed and reinterpreted from pre-Christian indigenous European cultural practices. Religions change over time, which offers a glimmer of hope. Christianity today is bifurcating. The bulk of Western Christianity today is non-denominational and formed around the idea of heaven and hell, which is just one more Greek dualism. People are separated and judged into camps of saved and unsaved, sinners and righteous, those who belong to a particular church and those who are targets for membership. Every action of the church is focused on gaining more members and more money. The vast arenas of American Christianity in this form remain stuck in dualistic right-wrong, sinner-redeemed, us versus them categories. Megachurch Christianity is tangled in the Hebrew Bible's shackles that Jesus tried to replace with something entirely new. By the 1st century AD, the elite leadership of Jerusalem Temple realized that by disregarding the teachings of the prophets and the wisdom teachings of Judaism, they could set up righteousness and unrighteousness as the polar opposites within Judaism. Then they could use these categories to judge people. From there, it was only a short step to making people feel guilty about their moral state and then guilt people into giving money. Add in a huge dash of theatrical magic with the rituals at the enormous and fantastic temple, and we have a 1st century megachurch. Using dualisms and conflict to control people is an enormously successful strategy to build and retain a huge following. Then this itinerant hillbilly rabbi from Galilee came preaching to the common people. He taught that before you judge the problems of someone else, that you look at your own problems first. He taught that when we have looked at the mess we are inside, it is reason enough to forgive others and have mercy on them the same way God deals with us. He taught that loving others unconditionally and without judging is the world God wants for us. He taught that loving, embracing, including all other human beings is the only way. For his teachings and the threat he represented to the establishment powers that use conflict to control, he was crucified.